Hello everyone, I'm Leroy Harris, Programming Librarian here at the New Ulm Public Library, and I'm very happy to welcome you back to our second annual Stories for the Season. This year we've done a great collaboration together with the State Street Theater, NUCAT, and we're very excited to have the Brown County Historical Society joining us this year to provide us with our reading material. All of the readings that you'll be hearing come from the Brown County Historical Archives. And so they'll include letters, personal remembrances, newspaper clippings, as well as some fun recipes. We hope you enjoy these stories for the season.
Hi, I'm Tom Kaler with the State Street Theater, and I'm going to be reading an article called Writing Stirs the Memory of the Log Cabin Christmas. It's by A.J. Alwyn, and it says 1928, born 1862, and it appeared in the New Ulm Journal in November of 1958. The Indian outbreak was over. The Sioux uprising had been quelled. The red man's revenge wreaked upon the innocent settlers had spent itself. The massacre of New Ulm was a thing of the past, except as it existed in the haunting memories of the survivors, and which they were heroically striving to forget and banish from their minds. Peace, sweet peace, peace on earth, goodwill towards men. That was all they craved, and gratefully, and with its appreciation never known and felt before, did they accept it. Our little log cabin, closely hugging the densely wooded hillside in the snug Cottonwood Valley, where close by flowed the turbulent Verajukvakpa, or the Cottonwood River. It was once more in the possession of our pioneer parents with their family of 9, 8 boys and a baby girl. Seemingly by divine fate and predestination, we had escaped the Sioux's deadly arrow and tomahawk. It was an isolated human habitism in the most primeval wilderness of the forests, undulating hills, gulches and ravines, surrounding a tangle of brambles, covering a secluded expanse of fertile bottom lands. Here, father and mother, as with the impetus of a new lease on life, were industriously endeavoring to conquer the wilderness, clear the brambles, till the soil, and befriend Mother Earth, that she might bring forth tubers, roots, and grains for their physical support and sustenance. A beneficent providence again smiled upon their efforts, and a modest harvest home of typical frontier fashion was their reward. The season already was fast running to shorter days and longer nights. The family life and domestic commune became closer and more warmly congeal as the evenings grew longer. We children, under the influence and guidance of our Christian mother, began gradually to think, talk, and sing of Christmas, though it was weeks away. In those days, nothing was known to us about Santa Claus. Our conception of Christmas, as instilled in our minds, centered in the Christ child, Christkindie, which, however, in our vivid imagination and sensitivity, we pictured to ourselves as a full-size angel in flowing white robes of fleeciest substance, with long feathery wings extending down his back and reaching to his ankles, all the while emitting unnatural, mild, iridescent light as he stood noiselessly yet benignly fixing for us our Christmas tree while we were fast asleep. Such was our fantastic idea of Christmas. To provide the naked tree, that was our part. And be it here stated that no task of all year in our child life and idyllic existence was more welcome and performed with greater relish and zest. There were no so-called evergreens in our section of the state, except that is the rarest times, and in the most isolated places was there found a certain red cedar of the juniper family, which because of its peculiar, distinctive aroma, we soon came to associate with the Holy Night and Christmas time. It seemed to us that the only real Christmas tree in existence. Diligently, we would search the thicket immediately back of our log cabin, where during spring and summer, we so often heard the drumming of grouse and partridge, or the whirring of their wings as like arrows they shot by us when they flushed. All up and down the riverbed, embattled on either side, were densely wooded hilltops, swallow cliffs, and exposed landslides, then again broken into by deep gulches, ravines, mossy dells, now covered with a shower of dead and dry foliage, or perhaps the whole countryside blanketed with a fall of softness and white snow. Every nook and corner, every haunt and retreat was peered into and subjected to our penetrating search and scrutiny until we found the coveted trophy, our Christmas tree. So it came to pass that once again it was Holy Night. The hours were spent in much Christmas lore and expectant participation. This included a bath of each one of us in the wooden family wash tub. As one by one we emerged, Mother handed us a clean shirt to put on. It was hand-sewed and made of unbleached muslin. We then, one after another, knelt in our mother's knees, with our faces in our folded hands and buried into our mother's lap, repeated our Christmas verses which she had taught us. After closing our little prayer, and as a supplement thereto, each one was asked to state once more what we wished that Kris Kringle would bring us. This done, we took to our humble couches and feather beds, located in the lean-to of our log cabin, which was connected by an open doorway. Here, in absolute darkness, our infantile imaginations had full sway to indulge in the most fantastic and hallucinating reveries about Christmas until sleep completely overpowered us. But oh, the next morning, what joy, what cheer, what mirth, what inexpressible ecstasy was ours, when upon awakening we beheld unmistakably evidence that Kris Kringle had been here, prepared for us our Christmas tree. There it stood in the southeast corner of our rustic abode, illuminated with 5 pieces of tallow candles, deftly tied, one at the very top and the other 4 on as many convenient branches. And, sure enough, hanging upon it in various secluded places, we discovered our unspeakable joy, the very things of which each of us had wished and prayed for on Holy Night before. There was a mouth harmonica for Fritz. It had 4 holes, and it blew 2 complete chords, one on exhalation, one on inhalation. There was a blue glass marble the size of a dove egg for Herman, and a yellow one for Adolf. These marbles had been placed each in a little sack made to fit and hand-sewed. There was a little bird cage the size of a number 40 cotton thread spool for Rudolph. It was made of open weave fabric, sufficiently stiffened with a composition to stand up, and a solid top and bottom of the same compound. In it, on the bottom, had been placed a little yellow clot or dab to represent a canary bird. There was a wooden fife or whistle, tinted yellow for Emil, a little cart with 2 shiny black iron wheels with spokes, a tin top painted red, and a dapple gray pony attached to it for Albert. A tin trumpet, with highly covered rings around it for Eddie. A little rooster with wire legs standing on a bellow, which piped when squeezed for Willie, and a little china doll, and a wooden churn tinted yellow with real dasher in it for baby Elvine. All hopeful expectation of the night before had now shifted and transformed itself into the most animated realization. There was now unbounded, unrestrained expression of joy. Our hearts leaped within us. Our measure of happiness was full. Indeed, it was running over. The world was flooded with a sort of golden light which made it such a glorious place to be in. Yes, and there were father and mother beholding the whole performance from out of their humble couch through the open doorway. Language seemed inadequate to correctly picture or portray the indefinable expression of peace of mind and serenity of soul reflected in their felicitous countenance as they observed and listened to the gleeful chirp and chatter of their happy children, gamboling around the Christmas tree. Now whence all this supreme happiness, whence all this unengated gladness that filled our rude, rustic cabin home? Was it because of our physical surroundings and environment in which we found ourselves, and because of the material value of the toy trinkets that had come to us? Nay, that could not have been it. For all the little toy articles put together did not represent the outlay of a single dollar. Our abode and habitation was one of the crudest kind, a pioneer lodge reared up of logs, roofed with bark and thatched with and pointed out and plastered with a mixture of straw and yellow clay. The floor was of roughly hewn timbers, kept clean and sanitary by liberal use of white sand dug from a nearby swallow cliff, a fresh application being given every morning. It was devoid of every comfort as we understood the term today. We sat on homemade couches, padded with straw ticks, and covered ourselves in beds of wildfowl feathers traded in from friendly Indians. Such was the physical condition under which we had our existence. Then and now, in our present age, our generation reveals in full and plenty. We live in the spacious homes, enjoying undreamed of comforts and conveniences. Christmas gifts today range from the most ingenious miniature reproductions in Toyland of all that is comprehended in real life in our industrial world for our children, to Victrolas, pianos, radio sets, and luxurious automobiles for adults. Truly, we seem to have reached utopia. And yet, as we measure happiness, as indeed happiness must needs be measured, who would not in his innermost heart speak out with the Hoosier poet, "I wish I were a boy again," and fain recall and wish back those days of our childhood, that we might once again feel that same thrill and ecstasy of Christmas joy and happiness as we did in the days of long ago. So complete, so all-satisfying, albeit, and perchance, the day may have been celebrated in the humblest of homes. This little Christmas narrative, taken from actual life, can lead to but one conclusion. Christmas is an institution not founded on material things, nor yet on gifts and presents. These are but manifestations of its spirit. Christmas finds its basic reality in man's mental attitude. It is indeed and in truth of spiritual origin. It is a benign and beneficent force that fanned into the glow and moved to activity by a spark of the divine made manifest in man, impelling us to seek the happiness of others in order that we ourselves may be most happy. So it is manifest that the means and elements making for Christmas joy and happiness are placed within reach of all of us. Whether our gifts be large or small, our Merry Christmas will largely depend upon the mental and spiritual attitude that will dominate and hold sway in our hearts during the coming Christmas tide. It is all summed up in those simple yet glorious and immortal words: peace on earth, goodwill towards men.